As hearings go, this went as planned. It was long and bloated like a constipated snake. But as Republicans chased the facts, Democrats chased Republicans. First, Trey Gowdy pilloried Hillary on her lies.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true. There were a small number of portion markings on, I think, 3 of the documents.
Secretary Clinton said, I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
Secretary Clinton said she used just one device. Was that true?
She used multiple devices during the 4 years of her term as Secretary of State.
Secretary Clinton said all work-related emails were returned to the State Department. Was that true?
No, we found work-related emails, thousands, that were not returned.
Sharp, brutal, factual, pointed like his hair. The Democrat response, how dare you demand facts?
Today, House Republicans are doing what they always do, using taxpayers' money to continue investigating claims that have already been debunked just to keep them in the headlines one more day.
So with apologies to you and the FBI for this blatantly partisan proceeding, let me return to the facts of this case as you have clearly outlined them.
I hope that this committee's effort is not intended to intimidate you or the FBI or law enforcement in general or government employees.
Yes, it was as formulaic as baby food, although Clay and Cooper looked ready for the Kentucky Derby. But what you're left with is what you came with. Hillary Clinton, a massive incompetent who got away with it because she's massively incompetent. That's Comey's conclusion. Her stupidity exonerates her. She just didn't know any better. That basement server, doesn't everyone have one? I thought it was for her husband's Bill's Ashley Madison account. So hearing or not, Comey was the bull and Hillary was the china shop. And what a mess he left, which is why Republicans don't need to do too much. And also why Democrats had to make it about attacks on Comey, because the focus cannot be on Hillary or she'll be the cheapest part of your breakfast. Toast. Because even though Comey didn't prosecute, he did something far worse. He condemned her and then he let her walk, which fed the already toxic belief that the Clintons live by different rules and never get busted. What America saw today was a college course on the Clintons, Corruption 101. And what the Democratic Party is left with is an extremely careless, highly negligent, insanely arrogant, entitled bungler, i.e. just another Democrat. Hey, Juan, pretty impressive day today, I thought, all around. Smart for the Democrats to portray it as a political witch hunt.
Well, I think it's what was going on.
Yes.
You know, and I thought that, really, I was surprised at how aggressive they were with Jim Comey, because Jim Comey's a Republican.
They loved him.
Yeah, they loved him just the other day, but now they don't like Jim Comey.
I thought they were respectful.
Well, no, I didn't think they were respectful at all. In fact, they forced Comey to say that there was no different standard. He says he hears this everywhere. He says he has friends, and he's a Republican, so I guess there's Republican pals who say, hey, you laid out the case. Why didn't you indict her? And he says, name me one case in the last 40 years where gross negligence has led to an indictment on these charges. He says it just doesn't exist. And he had to say, I mean, he had to come back and make it clear. No basis for a criminal charge, none at all.
It's interesting, though, Eric. Does it matter? The stain is there. I mean, even it's hard for, like, it's funny watching Democrats laud Comey, who basically said their candidate is awful.
I thought I was watching the opposite day.
Opposite day.
Yeah, he's a Republican. A couple of things that really stood out. The intent argument. And I found it very interesting that Comey had literally said I could find no intent on her part. And then they went through all the things that she did to hide 35,000 emails, sent them to the lawyer. They burned those emails, the burn bags, and on and on. Sure sounds like intent to me. But John Micah, for me, was the star today when he said, okay, you have the highest profile of all investigation people. You're looking at Hillary Clinton, highest profile. She wants to be president. Did you attend the meeting, the 3.5-hour meeting with Hillary Clinton? Did you attend? No, he didn't. Comey didn't. Well, who did? 5 or so agents did. Well, did you debrief those agents? No, I didn't debrief those agents either. Really? Okay, and then one more. Well, did you at least record that? no, we didn't record that either. So he didn't attend, he didn't debrief, and he didn't record. Then how do you have the basis to conclude that she shouldn't be indicted if you don't even have the access or at least the full knowledge of what went on in those 3.5 hours?
What are you going on with? Of course they reported to the director.
He says he didn't debrief them.
No, I didn't say. Debrief is different than sending the report. It's like in this company, if you and I do something, we send it upstairs.
It wasn't a recording. It was like a summary. It wasn't even an actual testimony.
The point is, and what he's saying is because they have emphasized transparency, and that's why he went through the whole detail of what he thought the facts, the evidence was, and then ultimately rendered a conclusion and a recommendation for no prosecution. Fantastic. How about some more transparency and actually provide a transcript,
they don't have
the list of questions and answers? Well, you know what? That looks deceitful in and of itself. If you are that confident in your investigation and that it was fair and that justice is being served, then why have you gone out of your way, number one, to interview her at the last second and do the quickest turnaround I've ever seen, and then all of a sudden say, exonerated? I mean, come on. He can't feel good about this
because they wanted to get it done before the convention.
Absolutely. All of a sudden, a rush to judgment, as in acquittal.
Yeah. What do you think, though, about? I mean, if the Republicans can't lose with this, if they, as long as even if they don't get, they don't get the answers to these questions, everything's out there about Hillary.
I just think that there's not many persuadable voters left. So Democrats have never thought that this was a big deal. Republicans have thought this was a big deal. It reinforces what Republicans were thinking. If you were on the fence, it's like, another 8 years of the Clintons, can we take it? Because Comey did shred her argument.
Yes.
And one of the other things that happened was when Trey Gowdy goes through that series of questions, and Comey has to admit, well, yes, okay, she said this. That is not true. Yeah. Basically, she did lie to Congress.
Right.
Okay, and she is also, not just to Congress, she's lied to the American people in multiple settings, at her press conferences and interviews. Why she's not done interviews, we'll get to that in the B block. But the other thing, I think where Comey really fell down on this is when he said that no reasonable prosecutor would have brought this. But prosecutors bring cases for much less.
Right.
All the time, and I'm very familiar with one case in Washington, D.C., and that was the Valerie Plame affair. And that was where they knew who had leaked the information, and they still went after everybody in the West Wing on some sort of a witch hunt, and they tried to finally get Scooter Libby on that. The other thing I would say is that Comey also admits that if it were somebody on his staff at the FBI that had a top secret clearance, and they had done what Hillary Clinton had done, that they would have suffered consequences.
Right.
And so, it just, again, so I think your point is correct, Greg, that Comey is confirming that Hillary Clinton believes she is above the law, and unfortunately, indeed, she is.
Yeah.
Can we, to that point about security clearances, here's Ron DeSantis, that's his name, I believe, questioning Comey about security clearances. Roll it.
Roll it, Ron.
In your statement, you did point out that administrative and security consequences would be appropriate if someone demonstrated extreme carelessness for classified information. So those consequences, that would include potentially termination of federal employment?
Correct.
It could include revocation of security clearance?
Yes.
So that's two.
Yeah. And this is what we're talking about. Just POTUS with no security clearance. Okay, that's interesting, right? So maybe just be a figurehead. But what I thought was very interesting is Comey basically said that she's completely incapable, that she was incapable and not sophisticated enough to recognize classification markings. And this is a woman whose big qualification, her core competency is supposed to be that she was Secretary of State, but she wasn't even able to render a basic determination to understand the seriousness of it, and lied repeatedly about it.
That's just, to me, it's just not believable. President Obama said the other day that she's the most qualified person ever in the history of the world to run for president of the United States. It's a person who had top secret clearance. I don't know if she did at the White House as First Lady, I'm assuming probably. But then certainly
she's
in the Senate, she was the Armed Service Committee. She was on that committee, so obviously she had access to intelligence information. I mean, the government hasn't evolved in terms of what things look like in about 40 years. So it's not like she never had seen it before. So I thought that was a little bit of a lame
Let me just offer you, how it looked to me today.
Makes her look bad, though, regardless.
I don't think, first of all, just listening to you guys, I think this is exactly what you said wasn't true, that they were going after Comey. I mean, they really were. And I think the Republican Congress people...
They were focused so much on Hillary, asking him about Hillary, but I don't think they ever said anything negative about Comey.
Well, yeah, the idea was, if you laid out this case, why didn't you, suggest that there be a prosecution. And he had to say, this was totally impartial. I never met with the White House or the justice to let them know when I would speak or that I would speak. He made it clear, by the way, contrary to what we were discussing yesterday, that when he talks about this classified information, Kimberly, he's talking about 2 or 3 documents. He's talking about things that did not have a header on it that said secret. Yeah. In fact, what he said was that it basically just had a little C in it, and of course, any reasonable person could have gone by it. So that's 2 documents. But I think that the big thing is every Republican congressman was looking to create the soundbite that would serve that audience. They would say, oh, yeah, I asked the tough question.
I think that I disagree, Eric. I thought that this was so much more restraint than any of the...
Because there's so many reasons.
Yeah.
Everything contradicts. There's so much hypocrisy. Yes, she did all these things, and no, we're not going to call for an indictment. Yes, if it were my staff, he would have consequences, including firing and prosecution on his staff. But I didn't recommend that for Hillary Clinton. There are 2 sets of laws. Dana's right. Yeah. There's laws for people. There's laws for regular people. There's laws for low-level FBI agents. And then there's another whole set of laws for Hillary Clinton. Apparently, all he had to do, and the reason why I point out Micah's question being so important, all James Comey had to do is, Hillary Clinton, did you or did you not send emails on your private server? Where do you go with that? Give me one answer that doesn't indict her. Both answers do.
Well,
yes indicts her, no indicts her.
You know what he said?
Because he said you can't lie to the FBI.
And he said today she never lied to the FBI.
And then Gowdy showed that she lied on 4 different occasions.
Yeah, poor Martha Stewart, with all those excellent homeware goods, went to prison, right? For what? For lying to the investigators.
It also, again, goes back to the question of why he decided to take the bullet for the administration. Because, Kimberly, when he did that 14-minute statement, he could have stopped before the punchline, right, and said, that is our assessment, and now we turn it over to the prosecutors at the Justice Department for them to make a determination if they think there should be one. But he fell on that sword or took the bullet or whatever.
On purpose, Dana. On purpose is all I think about every day.
I think maybe because, one, he felt like the future of the country hinges on doesn't want that to hinge on a legal decision rendered by the FBI or something. I'm not sure, but I'm not saying it's a dishonorable decision. I think that maybe he came to it based on balance. He thought it was the right thing to do, but I just don't understand prosecutors make that decision.
I think he did it to elect Trump. He damaged Hillary. He said, you know what?
That would be great spin for the...
No, I'm making this spin now. I'm making this spin now. He did this because he knew that Bernie had a chance and he knew that Biden had a chance, but he knew a damaged Hillary couldn't beat Trump. He did it for Trump.
Just take this ball and run with it as if it's a win. Just like run all the way down the field. Spike the ball.
And you know what you just said, though? The Washington Post editorial today said that any FBI guy, normally if you decide, well, there's no basis after the reports come in from the agents, the qualified investigator, and you say, well, there's no basis here, that he should have said, we're not recommendation. But he went on and spent 15 minutes, and the Post editorial said, wow, this is totally out of line. He besmirched her reputation.
Right. Yes.
Imagine if somebody had investigated, let's say, the Bush family, the Koch brothers, anybody, and said, no prosecution, but here's what I think they did wrong, and they were reckless, and they were wrong. I mean, it seems as if it was personal.
All of it can be used now. All of it can.
Hugely important line. Someone asked, do you have an open investigation? Do you find anything with the Clinton Foundation? And he wouldn't comment.
He wouldn't answer.
He wouldn't say whether there was an open investigation ongoing.
You know what the answer to that is?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And if you read Walter Russell Mead today, that's around that article in the American Interest, he said, why would she have gone to all that bother of setting all of this up if it wasn't to help protect something bigger and more important, which was the pipeline to the Clinton Foundation?
That's big luck.
Yes.
You got to end it right there.
Hillary